82 years ago, a group of university students wrote essays criticizing their fascist government. They distributed these essays among their university and city. This act of spreading words and ideas was deemed so dangerous that these students were arrested and they were tried and executed within a week. This is what they wrote. This is the first leaflet of The White Rose, written by Hans Scholl and Alexander Schmorell. Hans was 24 and Alex was 25 when they were executed by beheading. Nothing is so unworthy of being called a civilized nation as one that allows itself to be governed without opposition by an irresponsible clique that has yielded to base instinct. Is it not true that today every honest German is ashamed of the government? Who among us has any conception of the dimensions of shame that will befall us and our children when one day the veil has fallen from our eyes and the most horrible of crimes that infinitely outdistant every human measure, reach the light of day? If the German people are already so corrupted and spiritually crushed that they do not raise a hand, frivolously trusting in a questionable faith in lawful order of history, if they surrender man's highest principle, that which raises him above all God's other creatures, his free will, if they abandon the will to take decisive action and turn the wheel of history and thus subject it to their own rational decision, if they are so devoid of all individuality, having already gone so far down the road towards turning into a spiritless and cowardly mass, then yes, they deserve their downfall. Goethe speaks of Germans as tragic people, like the Jews and the Greeks, but today it would appear rather that they are a spineless, will-less herd of hangers-on who now, the marrow sucked out of their bones, robbed of the center of stability, are waiting to be hounded to their destruction. So it seems, but it is not true. Rather, by means of gradual, treacherous, systemic abuse, the system has put every individual into a spiritual prison. Only now, finding themselves in fetters, have they become aware of their fate. Only a few recognized the threat of ruin, and the reward for their heroic warning was death. We will have more to say about the fate of these persons. If every person waits until someone else makes a start, the messengers of avenging nemesis will come steadily closer. Then even the last victim will have been cast senselessly into the maw of the insatiable demon. Therefore, every individual conscious of his responsibility as a member of Christian and Western civilization must defend himself as best he can at this late hour. He must work against the scourges of mankind, against fascism and any similar system of totalitarianism. Offer passive resistance wherever you may be. Forestall the spread of this atheistic war machine before it is too late, before the last cities have been reduced to rubble like Cologne, and before the nation's last young man has given his blood on some battlefield for the hubris of subhuman. Do not forget that every people deserves the regime it is willing to endure. The leaflet finishes with quotes from Friedrich Schiller and Goethe. These words were deemed so dangerous by the Nazi government that the people who wrote them had to be put to death immediately. When a German citizen was put on trial when they were sentenced to death, they usually had a 90-day waiting period between their sentencing and their execution. This was not existent for the members of the White Rose. These were children and they did not do anything violent. All they did was write these words.